This is a series about Babe Ruth. After coming off a season plagued with suspensions and disappointment, the Bambino was looking to bring some sense of normalcy back to his game, and for the Babe, that meant utter domination of AL pitchers. This is 1923, and this would be one of the Babe's finest seasons. In fact, from the first game of the season until the very last, Ruth would show why he was baseball's brightest star. The New York Yankees had purchased a 20-acre plot of land in the Bronx for the future site of Yankee Stadium. Construction costs totaled $2.4 million, and the grand opening of the house that Ruth built would take place on April 18th to an announced crowd of over 74,000 people. Ruth had commented that he'd give a year of his life to hit a home run in the first game of this new park. Well, it was Ruth, so you know what happened. One writer said, the Babe provided a housewarming gift by drilling a 3-run homer on the bottom of the third inning. It turned out to be the game-winning hit as Ruth's Yankees topped his former club, the Red Sox, 4-1, and it proved to be a sign of great things to come for both Ruth and the Yankees. If you've ever seen Ruth's page on Baseball Reference, you may have noticed that he only won the league MVP award one time. And that's because for part of Ruth's career, there wasn't any such award. And from 1922 to 1928, the league wouldn't allow anyone to win it twice. Wondering how many MVP awards Ruth deserved was the impetus for this series, so I set out to examine Ruth's career season by season. 1923 would be the year of the Babe. In fact, it was the sole season that he won the MVP award. But before we get into all the details of what he did to deserve it, let's talk about the guys who challenged him for the award. Here are the actual results from the AL MVP voting. Ruth took the award, followed by Eddie Collins, Harry Heilman, Wally Gerber, and Joe Sewell. Upon examining 35 major statistical categories, I was pretty puzzled at how Eddie Collins finished second. And I'm also not quite sure how Wally Gerber finished fourth. Of course, Gerber was a shortstop, and he played all 154 games. He also finished fourth in at-bats and fifth in plate appearances, so I have to assume that defense and availability played a big part in Gerber finishing fourth. And as I started looking at all of the league leaders, here's what really caught my attention. Tris Speaker had a crazy great season, but voters decided to pick Joel Sewell. Remember, they could only choose one player from each team, and somehow Tris Speaker didn't even finish in the top 20. Now that's just nuts. In the end, I have a Ruth, Speaker, Heilman order. I'd probably have Collins finishing 5th or 6th in the voting, definitely not second. Voters put Heilman third, and I did the same. He led the league with a .403 batting average, just another spectacular year for Heilman. On top of that, he finished second in 10 categories and third in 8 more. Another outstanding season for Heilman. But unlike league voters who picked Joel Sewell from Cleveland, I've got to choose Tris Speaker, and he's my runner-up for the 23 MVP. Not only did he lead the league with 59 doubles, but he tied Ruth for the league lead with 130 RBIs. To top it off, he finished second in 12 more categories and third in 10 more. He had a dominating season and definitely was the only person that could have challenged Ruth for this award. But nobody did, and Ruth easily walked away with this award. Out of the 35 categories I looked at, Ruth led the league in 26. Complete domination. In fact, Ruth set career best in 4 different categories. He posted a WAR of 14.1. He had a batting average of .393, an on-base percentage of .545, and he even walked 170 times. That's just crazy. This was definitely a great year that Ruth posted. Well, the Yankees and their crosstown rivals, the Giants, would find themselves back in the World Series once again. It did not go well for the Yankees in 1921 or in 1922, and they were certainly looking for some revenge here in 1923. For the series, each game would alternate between parks, with the first being played at the new Yankee Stadium. But the Giants ruined the fun in Game 1 with a 5-4 victory, and you can only imagine that Yankee fans were already getting concerned. But in Game 2, Ruth came to the rescue. He hit home runs in the top of the 4th and in the top of the 5th, becoming the first player to hit consecutive home runs in World Series history, and he powered the Yankees to a 4-2 win. The Giants would regain control with a 1-0 shutout in Game 3, but the Yankees walked away with the series with victories in Games 4, 5, and 6. It was the Yankees' first World Series championship, and of course, it happened the year they opened Yankee Stadium. Back then, they didn't give out a World Series MVP award. Ruth had already been in the World Series 5 times, and I've determined he would not have won that award yet. But as a starting pitcher for the Red Sox, I believe he would have been the runner-up for the MVP award in both 1916 and 1918. But could he finally capture the award here in 1923? There were 4 good candidates for the 1923 World Series MVP: Ruth, Bob Musial, Aaron Ward, and pitcher Herb Pennock. Let's begin with Musial. Those 8 RBIs definitely get your attention, and he had the game-winning hit in Games 4, 5, and 6. But we may not want to make too much of that. In Game 4, the Yankees were already up 4-0 when he came up and tacked on 2 more runs. The Yankees went up 8-0 before the Giants made a modest comeback in defeat. In Game 5, he put them up 2-0 en route to an 8-1 victory. But in Game 6, he was truly heroic. The Yankees were down 3-4 when he had a big hit in the top of the 8th that sent the Yankees to their first World Championship. I also want to give second baseman Aaron Ward his just due. He led the Yankees with a .417 average with 10 hits. And then there's future Hall of Fame pitcher Herb Pennock. He factored into 3 of the 4 Yankee victories. He started Games 2 and 6 and won, and he actually saved Game 4. And while Pennock was solid, he wasn't spectacular. He pitched 17 1/3, gave up 19 hits, and posted an ERA of 3.63. A solid series for sure, but not good enough to take the MVP in this one. That award's gotta go to the Babe. He hit .368 with 3 home runs. He had an on-base percentage of an insane .556, a slug of 1,000, and his OPS was 1.556. He even scored 8 runs along the way. But tossing those stats aside, we want to remember what Ruth did in Game 2 and 6. With the Yankees down 1-0, Ruth came to the rescue in Game 2 and restored order in this series. And in Game 6, Ruth got the Yankees rolling with a home run in the top of the first inning. So he had the great stats and he had the big moments. And this time, Ruth finally deserves his first retro MVP award. So here's the updated trophy case for Ruth. He now has 5 MVP awards, a World Series MVP award to go along with Rookie of the Year and a Cy Young. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy these videos. And if you do me a favor, hit like and hit subscribe. Thanks so much.